Hello, and welcome to the Dallas Songwriters Association Songwriter Spotlight. I'm Barbe McMillen. Each month, we explore the songs and stories of an award-winning songwriter. I'm your host, and the man with the scene behind the scenes technical expert is our director, Harry Hewlett. Thanks to Harry for ramrodding all of our DSA talent onto the local stages and into the spotlight. So tonight, our spotlight is on Bradley Banning. Bradley Banning was born just outside of Fort Worth, Texas, and grew up in Colleyville, where he spent his formative years mowing lawns and crafting songs. His father's commitment to family and songwriting instilled in him the value of perseverance in pursuing one's passions. Bradley possesses a solid foundation in the music business with a Bachelor of Business Administration from Belmont University. In 2014, after being recognized as one of ASCAP's GPS top 12 unsigned songwriters, Bradley faced a pivotal moment. And I looked up what GPS meant, and it on the ASCAP website, and that stands for Guidance from Publishers for Songwriters. So he was suggested by a publisher to ASCAP that he was one of the top 12 songwriters to watch, unsigned. So losing his job as creative director and experiencing a relationship breakup spurred him to invest his savings in his studio equipment. And so that marked the beginning of his journey as a recording artist and producer. 2 years later, Bradley released his debut single, Don't Mess with Texas, which swiftly climbed the charts, earning significant airplay on major radio stations. Subsequent releases, including More, further solidified his presence in the Texas music scene. Despite holding various jobs to make ends meet, from creative director to car salesman, Bradley has never abandoned his love for music as he's continued to perform, produce, and release his own original songs. Beyond his musical endeavors, Bradley's faith played a transformative role in his life. His decision to embrace Catholicism led him to a fulfilling community for his philanthropic services, and ultimately to his wife. Let's please welcome Bradley Banning. Hello, Bradley. How are you
Hi,
doing?
how you doing?
So glad to have you here with us
Yeah,
today.
that was well written. I appreciate that.
I can't wait to hear your songs. So why don't you just start us out with a song to begin with?
Okay. You can find this song anywhere you stream music. It's called Enjoy the Ride. If you ride long enough, boy, you're bound to fall. Pick yourself back up and dust yourself off like you ain't scared at all. Let go of your pride, throw you every time. Oh, but most of all, when you get back on, enjoy the ride. I always wanted to be a cowboy. Uncle Leon taught me how, boy, to saddle up and chase your wildest dreams. Oh, but I didn't know at 8 years old how an old man's words shape my soul. But when times get tough, they come back to me. If you ride long enough, boy, you're bound to fall. Pick yourself back up and dust yourself off like you ain't scared at all. Let go of your pride, throw you every time. Oh, fall when you get back on. Enjoy the ride.
Oh, that was super. And a great song to start out with this set.
Thank you.
Your dad, David Banning, is an old friend of mine and a longtime member of Dallas Songwriters Association.
He is.
David is such a great guy, and you're so lucky to have a father like him. I was just wondering, what's it like to write songs with your dad, and what do you think that taught you about co-writing? What could you share with us about co-writing?
Yeah, he's taught me a lot about it. It's gotten progressively easier to write together over the years. Probably a lot of that is me growing up and not being as stubborn as I used to be. But I think that's really one of the biggest things that my dad has taught me about songwriting is that when you are co-writing and you're in the room with another artist, another songwriter, that it's not solely about you. You're creating together, and that, just like any relationship, that takes patience and it takes sacrifice. Sometimes the song doesn't go exactly the way that you thought it would go, but a lot of times it ends up going the right way or a better way. And so just really letting go of yourself, letting go of your pride, and just if you're in the room with another writer, trusting the other writer as well. So there's just kind of that back and forth, that tango, if you will, in songwriting. I learned that a lot about that from my dad.
So did you do some of those co-writing sessions in Nashville where you may have 5 people in the room, or?
No, I never did. I left Nashville in 2016, at the end of 2016, and it was about that time that track guys were really starting to come into the session. It was already happening in LA, but LA guys were starting to come out to Nashville to be track guys, to be in the room, and so that was just kind of taking off at that time. So there were maybe 1 or 2 times where I had 4 people in the room, but that was, I honestly can't even think of a song that I wrote with 4 people in the room. Usually it was just 2 or 3 of us. So yeah, no, the short answer is no. I've never had those 5-way rights.
So were you connected with a publisher? Were they putting you together? Or were you finding your co-writers at the Commodore? I know you wrote with your roommate for a while.
I did, yeah. I was the GPS program was great. And ASCAP really was helped me. A guy over there he's no longer over there. He's got his own publishing company now. But Michael Martin was over there, and he was my rep, and he put me into the program. And he's actually a Texas guy. And what they did was they set me up with all the other writers that were in that group at the time, the 11 other writers plus myself. And then, yeah, and then every month we would meet with a publisher, and we would meet with that same publisher for 2 months. We'd go in for the first meeting, we'd play a few songs, and then usually they'd set us up with one of their writers, and then we'd come back the following month after we'd written with the other writer and after we'd written some more songs, and we'd have 2 meetings, and then it was up to us to build the relationship. So then we got to stay in contact with those publishers, and so throughout that whole year of the GPS program, I've met with 6 different publishers through the program. And so it opened up a lot of other doors to other publishers and other songwriters in town as well. So that was a huge benefit of that program that I'm
that
incredibly
sounds like a
grateful for.
great program. So what you got for us? Got another song in there in your
I do, since you were talking about my dad.
songs?
Yeah, all right. I'll sing one that I wrote with my dad called George on the Jukebox. I wrote this with my dad and another friend of ours, Jake Worthington. That neon sign might be missing a letter. Bartender might be missing an eye. Call me crazy, but I feel a lot better. Which calls me honey as I walk in inside. There's George on the jukebox and cash in my pocket. I come unwound when I hear that twang. Can't help myself, I like the honky-tonk. Well, there's George on the jukebox and cash in my pocket. A couple songs only cost you a quarter. It's any wonder how they keep on the light. A bartender is a heavy pour, yeah, the costs are low, but the chances are high. There's George on the jukebox and cash in my pocket. I come unwound when I hear that twang. Can't help myself, I like the honky-tonk. Well, there's George on the jukebox, cash in my pocket. Yeah, there's George on the jukebox, cash in my pocket. I come unwound when I hear that twang. I'm on a roll, but I don't wanna rock it. Put some George on the jukebox, cash in my pocket. George on the jukebox and cash in my pocket. I come unwound when I hear that twang. Can't help myself, I like it. Honky-tonk. Well, there's George on the jukebox, cash in my pocket. I'm on a roll, but I don't wanna rock it. Put some George on the jukebox and cash in my pocket.
And of course, that'd be George Strait, right?
It is, yeah.
Well, you know, your dad, I can remember him making frequent trips to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess you grew up hearing him going to Nashville. You probably went with him sometimes when you were a kid. Is that what encouraged you to move there initially, or how did you end up being in Nashville initially?
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. I remember watching my dad and his friends drive up to Nashville, every other month or so, and he had plenty of friends around the DFW area that were songwriters, and we would go out to see their shows and hear their songs. And I remember actually going to Dallas Songwriter Association events with my dad when I was a little kid. There's one particular one I remember. I was about 4 years old, I think, and I remember him playing his song that night. And we grew up taking vacation and trips up to Nashville as well, family vacations. And so it was about, I guess, sixth grade. You had to do a report in school on colleges that you might want to go to. And I didn't really know. I mean, in sixth grade, you're not thinking about that. And so my dad was telling me, he knew I liked music and I liked to talk about songs and I liked songwriting. At that time, I wasn't really writing full songs. I was just writing little pieces. But he told me that there was a school in Nashville that had a degree in the music business. And so that was Belmont. And sixth grade, I did my project on Belmont, and that was all I had my heart set on. I didn't apply to another school. So
Wow.
when I turned 17, I was a senior, put in my application, and it came in right before Christmas in December, and I didn't have to finish filling out my other application to TCU. So that was it. And that's how I ended up getting to Nashville. So when I was 18, graduated high school, I moved there
All right.
and lived there for 10 years.
So, I'm gonna ask you a question about Belmont after your next song.
Okay.
So, what do you got for us next?
Let me think. Well, we were talking about GPS a minute ago, and so here's another song I put out, and I wrote this through the GPS program with a co-writer of mine, Jamison Rogers. It's called Savannah. Boone's farm in a paper cup, riding shotgun. She couldn't wait for Georgia. Tapping her toes, my windshield. She couldn't sit still. She'd never been to Georgia. And it seemed like everywhere that we'd go, Domino was playing on the radio. She couldn't help but smile, sing along. Now every time I hear that song, I think about Savannah. Wish time would stop right there. Think about Savannah. Must have been something in the air. I think about sipping meat, Spanish moss, River Street, girl, lost thing if it wasn't my fault. Think about Savannah. Oh yeah. Holding the wall, she had to try key lime pie. Tastes better in Georgia. We were talking about babies and dreams, diamond rings, and we were better in Georgia. We got caught in the rain out late one night. Knew what she was thinking from the look in her eye. Slipped off her shoes and we took off run. Man, that girl was something. Think about Savannah. Wish time would have stopped right there. Think about Savannah. Must have been something in the air. Think about sipping meat, Spanish moss, River Street, girl, lost thing if it wasn't my fault. Think about Savannah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of good to look back on. Don't know where we went wrong, but it wasn't in a tourist town I like to think about Savannah. Oh, I think about Savannah. Wish time would have stopped right there. Think about Savannah. Must have been something in the air. Think about sipping meat, Spanish moss, River Street, girl, lost thing if it wasn't my fault. Think about Savannah. Oh yeah. Oh, I think about her. I think about her now. Think about Savannah.
Right, very nice.
Thank you.
Good song. I like that little pause before your last chorus.
Well, thank you so much.
Very expressive.
Thank you.
So, you know, when you went to Belmont, you were there for 4 years, right?
I was. Well, I graduated early, so I was there for 3.5, I guess, technically.
So, were you able to bring some credits from a dual credit course in high school or something to get, or did you just take extra courses?
I just took extra courses in the summer.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I wanted to get out. It's funny. I wanted to get out of college early because all I wanted to do was work in the music business, and graduated in December of 2009, right when the recession was taking its toll, and a lot of labels were collapsing or merging with other labels, and there weren't a lot of jobs when I when I decided I should have just stayed in school a little bit longer, but it all worked out anyway.
So, do you know who the person was that nominated you for that position for the GPS position at ASCAP?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, I do. It was Michael Martin over there.
Okay. Mhm.
He was my rep, and he nominated me for that.
Okay, that
Yeah,
was nice of him.
yeah,
Are y'all still connected? You still talk
we
to him?
are. Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while, but we're still
Mhm.
connected.
Do you go down to South by Southwest and ride with him on the boat out on the river?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I haven't been to South by Southwest in quite a few years, but yeah.
I haven't either. I guess they still have the boat out on the river. That's what I remember about ASCAP. I love that boat, going
Yeah.
on Fridays. So, well, I was wondering. So, like you said, you know, you might have could have got a job had it been better economics, but so you
Mhm.
had trouble. But were those contacts helpful for you later? I mean, I noticed that you had worked as a creative director
Mhm.
at one point. What company was that, and when did you get that job?
It was a company that started back in 2011, 2012, I think. It was a company called the Talent Associates. Their main artist was Emerson Drive. It was owned by John Ettinger, and he hired me over there
Mm.
when they were forming the company. And yeah, brought me on over there. I got to basically spend time with all the artists that we had, got to sign one or two and develop their projects for them and develop projects here and there for the other artists. So I got to work with the artists and build their projects with them, which was a whole lot of fun. It's a lot of fun building other people's projects. Really enjoy that. But yeah, that's where I spent my time as creative director was over there.
So
But
yeah, so I guess you learned a lot. You know, it's all DIY practically these days. So I guess that helped you. What you learned doing that helped you a lot in your own projects later.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
So exactly what does a creative director to do? You find the talent and you help them produce their projects. Then what else?
Yeah. Well, I mean, today, even though that was, less than 10 years ago, that was, I guess it's, it's a lot like back then. It was a lot like A&R. There's more to it now because at a boutique management company like that, smaller one, we had a lot of different. I had a lot of different roles that I also took care of. You know, there were showcases that we had for whether it was publishers or labels or investors. That was part of my job was helping to make sure that the money was there for the artist and that the event happened, that we got the most out of the event, that we showcased our artists well. A lot of it was managing spreadsheets for the artist or the tour or for my boss, or working one-on-one with the artist and just taking care of little things that they needed, and kind of a day-to-day manager role, which I also played for another country duo for a while. I was their day-to-day guy. So when you're a tour manager in management or a day-to-day manager or creative director, there's just a lot of the jobs overlap a whole lot, and I think that's really once labels started deconstructing and A&R started going away to a degree, that the jobs just keep overlapping, and certain responsibilities keep piling on other roles, and so it's always evolving, you know.
Okay, so that's the company that you were tour manager for Emerson Drive and Joey and Rory and okay, that's interesting.
To a degree, I
Yeah,
was with Joey and Rory before they were signed to another management company, but I was their day-to-day manager over there, and then
because
with
Rory
this,
came out of Dallas Songwriters Association. He
he
was part of
did.
that. Yeah, in the
He
'90s.
did. I knew Rory growing up.
Uh-huh.
There's a video somewhere on my computer. I was 3 or 4 years old, and I had written my first song with my dad called the Seatbelt Song.
Oh,
And so Rory came to my preschool and sang that song for all the kids.
how neat! Wow,
Yeah,
it doesn't get any better than that.
yeah. It was a whole lot of fun.
Okay, so you got a couple of songs. Why don't you do a couple songs back to back for us?
Okay. Well, I got some Texas songs. Why don't I do two Texas songs back to back? This is the one that got me my start in Texas and actually writing songs and making music full time. Wrote it with my dad, David Banning, who we've been talking about, and his buddy, who's become a buddy of mine, Kyle Lovell. It's called "Don't Mess with Texas." You don't drive across Texas on a single tank of gas. You don't leave the Lone Star State without wishing you were back. You don't go through San Antonio and forget the Alamo. You don't pick blue bonnets off the side of the road. You hold on to your license plates and
hang 'em on the wall. You dance every chance you get with your girl at Green Hall. Take some time to spend the night down in Fredericksburg. You don't mess with Texas. You love her. You don't live in Austin if you ain't a little weird. You don't float the Guadalupe without a 2-4 beer. You don't sing a Willie song. You can't sing it right. You don't touch a cowboy's hat. You don't want to fight. Hold on to your license plates and hang them on the wall. You dance every chance you get with your girl at Green Hall. Take some time to spend the night down in Fredericksburg. You don't mess with Texas. You love her. Yeah, you love her. But you don't leave a girl in Fort Worth and head to Tennessee and not tell her that you love her. 'Cause if you did, you'd be mean. You hold on to your license plates and hang them on the wall. You dance every chance you get with your girl at Green Hall. You take some time to spend the night down in Fredericksburg. You don't mess with Texas. You love her. Yeah, you love her.
Then so I wrote that one with my dad, and came back to Texas, and he had another buddy, Dave, that we wrote another song with called Texan. Wrote this with Dave Affenbauch, my dad, David Banning.
Held the door and tipped my hat. She said, I didn't know cowboys still did that. Said, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm a Texan. Say yes, sir, and thank you, ma'am. Keep a word when we shake your hand. It's just the way we're raised, I reckon I'm a Texan. It ain't just a state, it's a state of mind. Hey, there's nothing wrong with the other 49. You can bet your boots that when I hang up my Stetson, yeah, I thank God I'm a Texan. Do it big or not at all. Ain't afraid to take a fall. Just get up and dust off like a Texan. Won't go looking for a fight, but we'll stand up for what's right. There ain't no sense in messing with a Texan. It ain't just a state, it's a state of mind. Hey, there's nothing wrong with the other 49. Well, you can bet your boots that when I hang up my Stetson, yeah, I thank God I'm a Texan. We two-stepped to the steel guitar underneath that old Lone Star. And that girl found herself deep in the heart of a Texan. It ain't just a state, it's a state of mind. Hey, there's nothing wrong with the other 49. But you can bet your boots that And when I hang up my Stetson, yeah, I thank God I'm a Texan. Yeah, I thank God I'm a Texan.
Me too.
I
And I'm sure glad that Stetson rhymes with Texan.
know, right?
Perfect. So perfect. You know, that "Don't Mess with Texas" song was a big song in 2017 on the radio. I mean, it got you some airplay on the Wolf, which is 99.5 KPLX. In case y'all don't know, anybody out there doesn't know, but um, so I'm just curious. Um, coming from that was just right after you came back from Nashville, I guess, right? So did you hired a promotion person to get that on the radio, or how did that happen that got so much airplay?
Yeah, I mean, it was a God thing, really. I couldn't have orchestrated it. Basically, I wrote that song in 2000, in spring of 2016, I believe, with my dad and Kyle, and I basically produced it in my bedroom. And then a buddy of mine, Danny Dupel, who's the guitar player for Emerson Drive, was like, "Hey man, let me help you get the rest of it done." And he threw drums on there, and some guitars, and we put a new bass on it. And he mixed it, and it sounded great. And so I called my dad, and I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I come contract out some of your landscaping stuff for a while and see if I can't, get this song played on Texas radio, and try to come down there and make a career? Maybe, after being GPS, coming down there, if I can get some radio airplay with this song, maybe it'll spur on a record deal or publishing deal or something like that." So I came down and started working and put out the song. I came down in August of 2016. I was thinking I was going to be here for 6 months or something like that. And October, I put it out, and nothing really happened. But I remembered I knew a guy over at Show Dog Universal, because I worked for Universal South. And when I graduated, I was working over there, and they were merging with Show Dog, which was Toby Keith's label. They ended up merging together, and I met Greg Sachs, who Texas was in his region. He was a radio promoter. And so I liked Greg. Greg was always a nice guy. And so I called my old boss. I said, "Hey, would you mind connecting me with Greg?" And she said, "Absolutely, give him a call." And so I actually think I emailed him, but I sent him an email. I said, "Hey, Greg, back living in Texas. I know this is your territory. Do you have any advice for putting this song out in Texas?" And he got back to me almost immediately. It was like, "Absolutely." He said, "Hey, how about lunch tomorrow? I think you need to meet my wife." And I said, "Okay." And so I had no idea. Greg and his wife, Tammy, lived a mile down the road from where my parents lived and from where I grew up. I thought he lived in Nashville, but it turns out he just made trips up to Nashville. And because this was his territory, he lived down here. And so Greg and his wife took me to lunch the next day, and they sat me down. They said, "Hey, Bradley, do you believe in God?" And I said, "I do." And they go, "So do we. And we think we're supposed to help you. Love your song." And little did I know, Tammy was the top radio promoter, still is, in Texas. And she had, big artists like Cody Johnson, forget who else was on her roster at the time, but she had big artists. It was the cream of the crop. And I was like, "You're going to take my song and take it to radio?" I had no business being on that roster of artists. And they believed in me. They are incredibly kind and generous people and faithful people. And so they took my song. She took it to radio, and she said, "You're going to have to wait until February." It was October. And she said, "But we'll take it to radio in February." And so Tammy started working the record February 13th of 2017. Usually songs at that time had about a 22-week lifespan on radio. And it broke the top 20 on the Texas charts. And so about 60 something stations played it. Well, another buddy of mine who I met through Tammy, and Tammy got Hondo to play. Hondo was the DJ on the Sunday night show on 99.5 The Wolf. He was playing it on his show, and so they started testing it. He was playing it once a week on his show, basically, and it was enough for them to test it. And they were testing it with all the other songs that were out nationally in the country format, and that meant everyone out of Nashville. And out of, I think out of 400 songs they were testing, I was coming in at number 4 nationally, and which is insane. So they, after the song was dead, months after the song was dead, near the end, like fall of 2017. We were already on my second single. They decided, hey, we're going to put this into medium rotation, and they played it about 14 times a week to start. And then I think at one point they got it up to 21 or 22 times a week. And it was at that point I got emails and texts from people in Nashville saying, dude, what are you doing? You just showed up on as an ad on 99.5 The Wolf in Dallas, all my old radio promoter friends in Nashville. I was like, I have no idea. Tammy Millspaw is doing it. And so Tammy worked that song, and because I had her behind me and they were faithful people, it just, forever grateful for them. And they made that song what it was. And, it had a lifespan of about a year and a half, which was crazy, and got me a lot worse.
Long.
Yeah. So that's how it all started.
That's good. And so you had you mentioned your second single release. Song was called More.
Yes,
and that was also released in April of the next year.
I think that's correct.
It was in the top 40 single. Right?
It was, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So cool. What do you perform more as well on guitar?
I do. I haven't performed it in a while, but I do.
Do you feel like performing it now, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Making up time, I'm barely making. Hammer down, throttle shaking. Lights on, I'm low on fuel. Got just enough get to you. Been putting in the time, putting in the work, but it feels like I'm just putting dirt on my shirt. Baking my back so my bank don't break. I'll do whatever it takes to get more, cooking out on Saturdays, more barbecue on a paper plate, more beat of beer in a solo cup, more time with you to drink it up. Can't get enough to tell the truth, baby. All I want is more you. Back porch sitting, just looking at you. Rock that chair the way you do. Behind the green, in your eyes, I can see the future sitting here tonight. Now I'm making plans I never plan on making, praying for things I never thought about praying. It's less about me, more about us, more about God, more about love, and more cooking out on Saturdays, more barbecue on a paper plate, more beat of beer in a solo cup, more time with you, drink it up. I can't get enough to tell the truth, baby. All I want is more you. I wanna buy an old farm with an old oak tree, plant some roots and raise a family. Count of blessings on the stars tonight in a blacked out pepper spray Texas sky. More cooking out on Saturdays, more barbecue on a paper plate, more beat of beer in a solo cup, more time with you, drink it up. I can't get enough to tell the truth, baby, all I want is more you.
All right. So who wrote that? Co-wrote that song with you?
That was me and one of my good friends, Colin KIrwin from Ireland.
Okay, so Colin KIrwin is the one that you lived with for a while in Nashville. Is that right?
I did. Yep, we're good buddies, and we were roommates for a few years.
So have you co-written anything with Daryl Perry?
Goodness, yes, but a long time ago.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it would have been when I was living in Nashville still.
mhm.
So it's been a while.
Was he living in Nashville when you were, or
He
no?
was, yes, man.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So, h- so I heard a little bit of Toby Keith in that song. More.
Oh yeah.
Is he one of your influences? Who are your songwriting influences?
Well, I would say so because he was just on the radio all the time growing up, and then I worked in close relations with a lot of people who worked for his label.
Right. Yeah.
But so I would say he is an influence, but really, um, if we're looking at my influences, I would have to say my dad, obviously, um, George Strait, and really later on, it was Eric Church. Eric Church really kind of started changing songwriting. I felt like in the way
I
things were
love Eric
produced.
Church. Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. But guys like I was a songwriter fan. So growing up, I was the guy who geeked out over who was in the credits, the songwriters, and who played on what. And so really my um, big influences were the guys writing the songs. Like Dean Dillon was a big one,
Mhm.
Tony Arata.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of others that Paul Overstreet, guys that my dad was pointing out to me, going, these are the guys to listen to. Here, oh, you can tell. We'd play a game where we'd go in his office and just listen through songs and try to pick out who wrote what. And a lot of times you could tell, and we got really good at it because you could tell who wrote what just by how the phrasing was or what they were saying or how they said it or melodically. Alan Shamlin, another great one. And then guys like Roger Miller, just so I was a fan of songwriters growing up. So those were really my influences.
Cool.
Yeah, I
It's a
love
shame that we
songwriters.
lost Toby Keith recently.
I
Uh,
know,
yeah. He
absolutely.
built an empire, and he had staying power too. I just thought he was going to always be there.
I know.
It
That's
was
it.
a big shock, I
Seemed like
think.
it was too soon for sure.
It was, yeah. So, give us another couple of songs.
Okay.
You got another couple in your
Oh, I'm sure.
backpack there?
Absolutely. I I'll play one. I mentioned a songwriter my dad used to mention all the time growing up to me, Paul Overstreet. And so a few years back, after "Don't Mess with Texas" was on the radio, I got to co-write a song with him, and my dad was on the ride as well. My dad set that up actually, called "Take You Away." Have you ever seen the sunrise in a West Texas sky? Seen all those beautiful colors explode with those beautiful eyes? Baby, I know right where to find it. Why don't we get out of this place? Let me take you away where the wild things grow, where the coyotes call, cactus bloom, stars put on a show. We could fall in love together, waiting for the break of day. Maybe make it last forever. Let me take you away. Well, this bar ain't me,
and it sure ain't you. Why don't we find something better to do? Let me take you away where the wild things grow, where the coyotes call, the cactus bloom, and the stars put on a show. Let me take you away where the wild things go, where the coyotes call, cactus bloom, and the stars put on a show. We can fall in love together, waiting for the break of day. Maybe make it last forever. Let me take you away.
I wrote this one. I'm going to put this out this year. I wanted to play one I wrote with a buddy of mine, Patrick Kelly. Patrick had the idea for this song and introduced himself to me and my dad right before COVID. And so we wrote this song over, what were we using? FaceTime or Skype or Zoom, something like that. We wrote that at the beginning of COVID. It's called Baseball in Heaven.
Player of the year, playing second base. He got a full ride to College Station after taking his team to state. But he got some news that summer, took the ball out of his hands. He said, I want to play next season, but if the Lord has different plans. I know there's baseball in heaven, grandstands in the clouds. It's forever spring on a field of dreams, and there's always a hometown crowd. When the good Lord calls a number, it's almost time to go. Know there's baseball in heaven, and I'm headed home. There's a bittersweet emotion hanging in the air tonight. Number 21's remembered underneath the ballpark lights. Why do some of us go early, some of us grow old? So many questions we can't answer, so many stories left untold. There's baseball in heaven, grandstands in the clouds. It's forever spring on a field of dreams, and there's always a hometown crowd. When the good Lord calls a number, it's almost time to go. There's baseball in heaven, and I'm headed home. I can see him at the plate, pointing to the wall, taking his first at bat up there. I know he'll touch them all. I know there's baseball in heaven, grandstands in the clouds. It's forever spring on a field of dreams, and there's always a hometown crowd. When the good Lord calls the number, it's almost time to go. There's baseball in heaven, and I'm headed home. I know there's baseball in heaven, and I'm headed home.
I love that song. That's great. Go Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. That was that World Series was a nice surprise this last year.
No kidding. Oh, darn. I wish the Cowboys hadn't let us down, but they got us
I
pretty
know,
far,
right?
though. The
Yeah.
division, that's not bad. But anyway, then we wouldn't have had to have the Swifty Super Bowl if
I know, right?
who knows.
Next
So,
year, right?
yeah, maybe. Hopefully. Well, that's what Jerry Jones says. We're set up for
Exactly.
next year.
Yep.
Oh. So your dad, does he still have his landscape company?
Oh yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah. Still writing songs too.
are you what are you selling these days besides songs?
I'm actually full time making songs again.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun. My wife and I are traveling around a lot. It's turned more into a ministry these days. There's a couple camps we go to, and she's a speaker. She was a youth minister for a long time, and she left that back in September, and we made a jump together to just change our life and use the gifts that we've been given and go out there and evangelize and make people happy and have some fun in the process.
I'm so glad we had a chance to talk about this for a minute. That
Yeah.
you were so lucky to meet your wife. You know,
Oh,
it when you joined the Catholic community here in town, and you were doing some um, services, some community service with that community, and you had a chance to meet. Now, how long ago was that? How long have y'all been married?
we've been married 3 years in April, and we met in 2017 and started dating in 2018, and so we'll have been together 6 years this coming October.
That's
Yep.
great. That's
Yeah.
great.
It was
So, are you gigging at all in clubs and stuff?
not right now. Not till my first gig's not till March.
Okay. Is it an outdoor gig or
It will be, yeah.
yeah?
And then in the process, we're doing a lot of traveling together, and so we're doing a lot of house shows as well.
Okay.
It's funny how the music business changes. You don't really need labels anymore to make a living in the music business, and so we're able to go out and play these house shows, and then there's full band shows sprinkled in there as well. We'll have shows back in DFW, full band and acoustic, but yeah, we're doing a lot of traveling and a lot of house shows and full band shows and some of the singer songwriter shows as well, which are my favorite.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah.
Good. I wanted to give you a chance to advertise what's coming
Yeah.
up. So did have you taken these songs now and put them in an album to put out a CD to sell at your gigs? Are you?
No, I'm trying to travel as light as possible,
Mhm.
and so the only merch items that I mean, and this is part of this is from just managing merch for other artists in the past. The best
Okay, I get
the,
it.
the best things to sell are t-shirts and hats. T-shirts are the most affordable, and then one thing that nobody really thinks about, which is still kind of a thing, is keychains. Keychains were highly profitable and sold like crazy on the road all the time. And so we don't have a ton of merch items, just t-shirts and hats, no CDs.
Mhm.
It's a shame because they haven't figured out a way for songwriters to get paid better from
Yeah,
streams. But
yeah.
if you're an artist who writes and you own your masters, you can make money. So that's nice. And so a lot of that is focused more on just releasing music. Don't have a full album yet. I may do that. I'm enjoying just putting out singles. I've My wife's been really key in this, but just uh, I've been taking the pressure off myself to produce a project or increase notoriety or followers. It's a funny thing that happens in the music business where your self worth really gets wrapped up in your job and in your music, in your art, and
And how
it
many people view you on Facebook or
yeah,
Instagram and or
and it,
whatever? Yeah.
yeah, and it's just not a way to live. And so I'm just kind of experiencing or experimenting with just getting into a routine of releasing songs that I like. And if they come together to form an album at some point, that would be great.
Mhm.
But I don't know that I'll print any copies unless, you know, a lot of people want them and maybe do some vinyl presses. That would be fun. But who knows? Who knows? But I haven't built an album yet.
Mhm. Well, That's all right. I mean, it's a different day, you know. It's a whole
Yeah.
different deal, you know. So you doing these single releases is a good idea, but you know, sometimes people have album concepts or
Hmm.
something like that. Like anyway,
Yeah, no,
so
I love that was one of my favorite things to do is listen to albums. And I used to think a lot in terms of that, but now just writing more songs, it's fun to like, oh, well, I like this song. I'm just gonna throw it out there. So I'm categorizing myself more as a songwriter now, I guess.
yeah. I know it's like we got away from the album concept because everybody was releasing singles and stuff like that. But then Kendrick Lamar a couple years ago did his big album concept, and then Beyonce did.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if that was going to be a trend and we were going to go back to an album concept kind of thing or not. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. I guess we'll see. The name of the game seems to be right now release as much music as you can.
On
And
TikTok.
yeah, exactly. So it's interesting to watch, but it's I would assume fun for everybody who's just riding a whole bunch, you know.
Well, you know, it's been a pleasure to have you
Yes, ma'am.
with
It's pretty
us,
good to be
and
here.
I'm hoping that you still have a couple of more good songs that you can end us with. You have two
Absolutely.
more in the pocket that you can go out
Yeah.
with.
Let me think. Yeah, I think I know which ones I'm going to do.
Okay.
Um, we mentioned Colin KIrwin earlier, and this was a song we wrote, kind of talking about what we're talking about now, just making it in the music business, and that's ever changing and evolving for me. I love music, but you think you make it, or you think you're making it, and it's never enough, whatever it is. And so I don't think making it in the music business or getting a Grammy or getting a CMA, ACM, or any kind of nomination is really what I'm aiming for anymore. It's more about um, living the life I'm called to live here and getting to heaven one day. So this is what that song is about. It's called Making It. Sleeping on a blow-up bed wasn't in the books I read. It's not the way I thought it'd be when I left home, Tennessee. Just a shimmer in a town of stars, making it rain in a pickle jar. Another dollar, another day, another due I pay to play. You gotta put in the work, put in the time. No, you can't reach the peak till you learn to climb. I'm not there yet, nowhere near it. Oh, I'm making it. New guitar, second hand, broke musicians in a minivan. Squared up to hit the road, knock 'em dead. TKO, well, a different dive every night. Misspelled name, marquee of lies. Keeping faith, pushing through, separates the rest from you. You gotta put in the work, put in the time. No, you can't reach a peak till you learn to climb. I'm not there yet, nowhere near it. Oh, I'm making it. Casualties of the big machine, we may fall chasing dreams. Lessons learned along the way prepare us for our victory day. You gotta put in the work, put in the time. No, you can't reach a peak till you learn to climb. I'm not there yet, nowhere near it. Oh, I'm making it. You gotta put in the work, put in the time. No, you can't reach a peak till you learn to climb. I'm not there yet.
making it.
Love
I
that.
think-
That's very catchy.
Thank you. Did you say I have time for one more?
Absolutely.
I should probably sing a song about my wife then. I'll do that.
Sounds like a good plan.
I wake up, there you are. You're not here, but you're on my heart. Every day, first thing I do, it makes me smile. I think about you. I make the coffee, sit down and eat. There's another crisis on TV. I think the world needs more good news. I think it's best I think about you. I think about letting go of all my plans and putting a ring on your hand. I think about laying down my life for you and being a better man. And I think about you. I think about her. I don't think about me. I think about us. Used to think I had it made, and you walked in. My world changed. I was a single, self-centered fool. Oh, but honey, now I think about you. I think about letting go of all my plans and putting a ring on your hand. I think about laying down my life for you, being a better man. And I think about love. I don't think about me. I think about us. I think about letting go of all my plans, putting a ring on your hand. I think about laying down my life for you and being a better man. And I think about you. I think about love. I don't think about me. I think about us. Every day, first thing I do, it makes me smile. I think about you.
Thank you so much, Bradley, for
Thank
taking
you.
the time out in your busy day to share your wonderful songs with us.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you for having me.
thank you for to those of you out there in Facebook land or YouTube for tuning in to Dallas Songwriters Spotlight. You've been listening to our guest songwriter extraordinaire, Bradley Banning. I'm Barbara McMillen. Good night, all from DFW.